Hey there everyone, it's Retro Martin here, and it is time for another video covering a completion for the RPG challenge. Now we are up to number 9. If you watched my last video, which was me completing Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail, which is the latest expansion pack, this one I've gone back in time by quite a few years. And this is Digimon World on the PlayStation, which came out all the way back at the beginning of 1999 in Japan, although it wouldn't come to PAL shores until halfway through 2001, which is roughly not long before I got it. I think I might have got it later that year at some point, so I've had the game for quite a long time. Now, this game gets a lot of different views, shall we say, because there are some people who just don't understand it, and there are people who want to understand it or can get it completely. I'll be honest with you, it's quite a difficult game to pick up at first, but if you treat it like any other RPG where you've got no real direction, a large majority of it is talking to non-player characters who will actually tell you exactly what you need to know. Now, fans of the franchise will no doubt know what's going on here, but for those that only have a surface level knowledge, will assume that Digimon is very much like Pokemon in that monsters evolve in one direction from what they are, and that's the end of it, because that's what happened in the anime. That is untrue. So basically this game is based around the original V-Pet, which was actually a Tamagotchi rip-off, although it's not really a rip-off because it's by the same creators, so you can't really call it a rip-off, I guess. And basically, Digimon evolution works a lot differently in this game because it's more like actual evolution, where your evolution is a product of your environment or something like that. But we'll come back to that in a minute. Just suffice to say, I absolutely love this game. I always have done. It's janky as hell. The translation is awful. It's actually uncompletable in many PAL regions because of a game-breaking glitch that prevents one area from being finished. Thankfully, the UK version did not have that particular glitch, because I've certainly completed the game multiple times over the years. And the UK version actually has one less glitch than the US version, as there's a glitch with a jukebox where it will crash in the US version, but over here in the UK it does not. So that is quite useful. But effectively, the premise of this game is you're sucked into a keychain and you go to the digital world and you have to rescue Digimon who have left the main city and lost their memories. And that is effectively it. However, the main crux of the game, if you will, is that you are raising your one monster who you name, and you take him up through the different life stages, and try and evolve him. Otherwise, after a certain amount of time, he will die, or she, depending, will die of old age and reincarnate into an egg of your choice out of 4, which will determine what it then hatches into, and you can begin the process all over again. And the cycle of rebirth will make the Digimon slightly stronger each time, like you'll get more stat ups the more times you've rebirthed up to a certain point. Now, it's very, very difficult to raise your Digimon in the beginning, because you don't have access to much in the way of decent equipment in the training area. You don't have access to a lot of facilities in the island. But after you've done a little bit, you've explored somewhat, and you've actually done quite a lot of battling, you will slowly unlock things which will make life much easier in the long run, as you will unlock shops, banks, a hospital, a restaurant, an arena, and upgrades for your meat farm. Yes, meat farm. They grow meat on a farm. Very early joke. It is referenced in the text quite amusingly. The game does not shy away from being quite self-referential at times. So yeah, that is the main basis of the game. It, in a way, is Metroidvania-like in that there is gates to your progression, but as you slowly open up the island, with which you can actually go in multiple different directions to go to different areas, you'll unlock shortcuts or paths forward that will then unlock other areas, and you can effectively go around the island in a completely opposing direction to the other as you go. Now, a lot of people argue that the game is too difficult without a guide. Not going to argue with that one. It's certainly a lot easier with a guide. I played it this time without one. Until I'd completed the main game, and then I used the guide just to finish off the last couple of bits, just to look for a few items. But I managed to get evolutions and unlock nearly all the game without any guide whatsoever. But Martin, you've played the game multiple times before. Yes, I have. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point. Of course I have. However, I had to do a lot of it from memory, and also the evolutions. I had no guide or knowledge to what the majority of them, or even any of them, were. It did take me still quite a few tries before I managed to get an ultimate or perfect, as we're using the Japanese terms here, evolutions, because the next stage up wasn't present at this point in the franchise. But I did manage to complete quite a large chunk of the game using a adult/champion level Digimon until eventually I did finally get my perfect form, and I managed to use that to then complete the game as well as finish off the other bits before it. And since then I've managed to get another couple. But effectively the game is one of experimentation where you will put stats into your Digimon and see how it leads you. Now, when you've done it, you'll realize how simple it actually is. Effectively, you've got multiple different things you can do to aim towards for evolving, whether that's weight, the amount of times you make mistakes, whether that's training them beyond tiredness, letting them poo, or whatever. And then things like their happiness level or their attentiveness, for lack of a better term, because I can't remember what the actual word is. And then there are usually special conditions, like if you've got a certain Digimon, then automatically you've fulfilled one of the points. And then, of course, the stat ups. Now, you don't need to make every stat exactly perfect. I've found with some of the evolutions, when I played it many eons ago, if you had a fraction of what they were and you fulfilled some of the other conditions, you'd get it anyway. So I think the way the game works, although, don't take this as canon, is every point you fulfill will be a percentage towards you getting the evolution. Once you've got 4 or 5 of the points raised, you'll have enough of a percentage that after a certain amount of time it will evolve into what you're expecting. So for example, if you start off with Agumon, as I did, and you raise his defense, you'll end up with Monochromon. If you raise his attack and health and don't have any mistakes, you'll get Greymon, which is what everyone wants. I ended up with Mega Seedramon for my perfect form, which I did by raising a load of stats. And then more recently, once I'd completed the game and I was in the post-game, I used the guide for this bit because I just wanted to get him, was Hercules Caboterimon, which back when I first got the game, nobody knew what the conditions were to get him. So I was quite happy when we finally learned what those were. But yeah, I was recently talking to someone about this game, and the way I put it was, the game is incredibly janky, but all the jank comes together and creates something that's actually quite deep. There's a lot of gameplay mechanics there that are absolutely fantastic for the time. The raising mechanic is actually much more in-depth than people would expect, and I think overall it is an absolutely fantastic game, all things considered, if you can get past some of the issues like the translation and things like fishing. I love fishing in RPGs, but in this game, no, it can go away. Don't like it at all. Thankfully, there's only a couple of mandatory bits where you've got to do it. But if you get past those, and to be honest with you, a couple of them aren't compulsory, so you don't really have to do them. The game is absolutely fantastic, and I really would recommend it to anyone. I'm always happy to help people through the game because I've obviously been playing it for over 20 years, so I know roughly what I'm doing with it. And certainly it was a little bit better than the Saturn game, which effectively was just a on-screen VPET, so it wasn't really much of a game. But yeah, Digimon World on the PlayStation, absolutely fantastic game. Number 9 completed for the RPG challenge. I have recently completed Breath of the Wild as well, but I'm not going to count that towards the completion for the RPG challenge. That was just sort of like a bonus game. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, watching what's going on the screen while I've been nattering about it and trying to sell the game, so to speak. And I will see you, hopefully, for number 10.